Aaron, on the right thing. Everyone should be open to 5.4 on OneNote. Okay, what we're going to be working with on 5.4 today is we're going to write linear equations in standard form. This is going to be our continuation from it yesterday, or from, well, yesterday, but Tuesday, about a week ago. So, what we're working on this. Check that little recycling box thing. Alright, so everyone should be opened up to this so we can be working. I know we're coming back from break, but we gotta get back into class mode. Okay, what we worked on Tuesday was we worked on taking an equation that was written in slope-intercept form and rearranging it so it was in standard form. And that's pretty much the only thing we did for our assignment was working on rearranging and writing in standard form. The important thing to remember is on standard form, we write it as ax plus by equals c. And now remember, the a and the b are just coefficients. So it's the x plus the y equals a c, with the most important things that they cannot, both a and b cannot be 0. Can one of them be 0? Yeah, one of them could be 0. Then we just have like y equals c or x equals c. The a has to be a positive, and it cannot be a fraction, it cannot be a decimal. So we will have a couple of those examples today where we're going to have to solve for this. Otherwise, today's is really going to be all about I say it's all about grit, meaning are you willing to do the work? It's not real difficult, but it is time consuming and you have to show quite a bit of work. Here's what we're going to be looking at. I know it says foldable, but we've been gone. We didn't have it, and I copied it wrong, to be honest, when I redid it. So we have a review day coming up, and we're going to do the foldable on the review day. So it says, example, 2x minus 3y equals 6. And they want us to graph this. This is standard form. 2x minus 3y, so the a, the y is on the same side, and then our c is 6. We're on 5 for day 6. Here's the thing. We cannot graph standard form the way it's written. When I look at a graph, nothing matches up. It's not like, ooh, I see that the slope was this, so that gives me, no. None of it matches up. So, we have two options to graph standard form. And we're going to do both of them. One is we write in slope-intercept form, which is my favorite method of using. I feel like that's the least amount of work. When we write in slope-intercept form, that is y equals mx plus b. The second option, we can find the x-intercepts. We find 2 points, we graph them, and then we make the line between the 2 points. To be honest, if they don't tell you which one to do, you get to choose whichever one's the easiest to you. Like I said, I like slope-intercept form. You might not, and that's totally fine. But we have to know both because sometimes we want to use one over the other or they tell us to. So, let's start with this first one. Everyone's going to do this with me. We're going to do slope-intercept form. So all I do is I write my equation, 2x minus 3y equals 6. And I have to get a slope-intercept form, so I have to solve, mainly, I'm solving for y's. I want to get y all by itself. So I notice that I have a 2x over here, so I'm going to minus 2x on both sides of the equal sign. And I'm left with negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. Okay, so I'm coming along pretty well so far. I got y on the one side, except I have to get y all by itself. Alexander, if you want to shut that door, you can. So I'm going to divide by negative 3. And here's the part that I've had people make mistakes on. You have to be careful when you're dividing. The first time, it's pretty easy. Negative 3 divided by negative 3, well, these two cancel each other out. And I'm just left with y equals, and then here's what I get some people getting lost on. Remember, I'm dividing everything on this side of the equal side by 3, or actually negative 3. So I'm going to look at this as negative 2x divided by negative 3. Well, negative divided by negative gives me a positive. And can 3 go into 2? No, so I'm going to have a fraction, but that's okay. 2/3, it's positive x. I also have to do the 6 divided by negative 3, and that's the one people always forget to do. They think, oh, I divided by negative 3 once, I can't do it anymore. No, the whole equation, it's like the distributive property backwards. So now I do 6 divided by negative 3, which give me negative 2. This is now in slope-intercept form. And I'm really disappointed because I see people not doing this in any of my, like, even in my regular math, 8th grade math class. But when I have this, the easiest thing to do is identify my slope. Write this out. My slope is 2/3. My y-intercept is, when I know those 2 points, I can graph the line. So my y-intercept is negative 2. We're going to assume all the little squares are worth 1. So negative 2. You first do your y-intercept, and now I use my slope to find my second point. So my second point is 2/3. Up to 1, 2, over 3. 1, 2, 3. And I can keep doing that. Up 2, over 3. I'm going to run out of room. I can go backwards. Down 2, over 3. And then I can go ahead and graph my line. We have now graphed the standard form of 2x minus 3y equals 6 using slope-intercept form. We're going to quickly do the intercept so you guys know how to do that. What is something important when I find my x-intercept? What's something you know for a fact about any coordinate for the x-intercept? Brianna?
That y is at 0.
Very good. My y has to be 0. Remember, y tells me how far above and below the x-axis. Well, if we're crossing the x-axis, it's not rising or dropping. So it's y equals 0. So I'm just going to go and take my equation, and we had 2x minus 3, and instead of saying y, we're going to say 0. We set y to 0 equals 6. And we have 2x, 3 times 0 is 0, so I have nothing, equals 6. Divide by 2, x equals 3. Perfect. So far, I have my coordinate for my x-intercept is 3, 0. We can go up and do so. So 1, 2, 3, 0. And that's perfect. We already had that point. So it shows that that point was correct when we did slope-intercept. Remember, our line should be the exact same line. When we do our y-intercept, Brianna, that would mean the exact opposite, which means what? Good. X has to equal 0. So this time, I'm going to go ahead and write down 2 times 0 minus 3y equals 6. 2 times 0 is 0. Do not forget the negative sign up, because I was subtracting 3y means I'm left with negative 3y. I'm going to divide by negative 3, and I have y equals negative 2. My y-intercept coordinates are 0, negative 2. 0, negative 2. We then graph that line, and it's the exact same line. So the purpose of that was to show you that It does not matter if you use slope-intercept form or the y and x intercepts, you will get the same line. So they're going to throw a little twist in here real quick to just a review. We have to write this in standard form. So this is y equals half x plus 5. Anytime I see this on quizzes, tests, or in any time, I always write down what standard form is just so I don't forget. So ax plus by equals c. So I have to get x and y on the same side. I have y equals, is that a negative half x? Yeah. Negative half x plus 5. What is the first step we should go ahead and try and do? Alex? Good. Let's put the x and y on the same side. So I'm going to add half an x. So now I have positive half x. I want to put my x first. Plus y equals 5. Whew. I'm all done, right?
No.
Oh, man, it's not that easy. What is wrong with this? Raise your hand. Don't just shout out. I want to see if everyone can pick it up. What's wrong with this? It's so very close. I do have x plus y equals c, but there's one mistake that we have for standard form. Briggs? That's okay if y is 1. Sean? Good. Remember, no fractions. Does anyone remember how am I going to undo this fraction?
Oh.
Sierra?
Multiply by the denominator.
Awesome. So if everyone heard that, we multiply by the denominator. We don't have to do all this other crazy stuff. We just are going to multiply everything. We're distributing to the whole equation. We're making equivalent fraction. Our denominator was 2. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2. And I'm going to show why. Right here, if I do a half times 2, that's like 2 over 1. That gives me just 1 whole. That's going to give me a whole number. So when I do this, I'm going to get 2 times half x will just give me x. 2 times y is 2y. And 2 times 5 is, this is our answer. Alright. Here comes a little trick today. Write an equation in standard form of the lines shown. I mentioned at the top of class, there is no relation from standard form to what you see on a graph. And I'm going to make sure you guys understand that. So if I look and I see, oh, the coordinate's 2, 4. Okay, since that coordinate's a 2, I have to say in standard form, no. If anything matches up, like, oh, that was a 2 in standard form, the answer was a 2. That's just a coincidence. To do this, we have 2 options. We can either write this line out in slope-intercept form, which was our y equals mx plus b. Or the what? No, not just we can't do just intercept because that's not an equation. Point slope. And if you remember, point slope was y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. It really doesn't matter which one we're going to do. Now, I personally, like I said before, love slope-intercept form. I think it's the easiest one. So we're going to do that one first. So if I do this one, y equals mx plus b. The 2 things I have to be able to identify is the slope and the y-intercept. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. Y equals, and what is my slope? Caitlin?
It's going to be 2 over 1. Or 2. -2.
-2? Good. So here's one point. There's multiple ways we can find slope. They gave us the intercepts, or like intercepts, 2 coordinates. So I could do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That'd give me slope. I could go from this point and count all the way down to this one, or this might be what Caitlin did. I took this point and I followed my line until I knew another point. I know that point because it was right on the crosshairs. So then I'm going to say that was -2, and we went over. Oops, I'm over 1. We went down 2, and I went over 1. So my slope is -2 over 1, or I'm just going to write it as -2. And then we have to identify our y-intercept. Now, here's the trick to this one. Do we see our y-intercept right now? No, because it goes off the chart, right?
No.
But to be honest, if I use my slope, I could find out where it is because it's right here. If I went the other way, if I went +2 and left 1, I'd go 1, 2. So 1, 2, and over 1. 1, 2, and over 1. So I'd be at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my y-intercept should be 8. What are we going to do once I have it in slope-intercept form?
Make it in standard form.
Good. Now we're going to rearrange it back over to standard form. So this is where I'm telling you the grit and perseverance has to happen. You have to do multiple steps to get to this. So I have this equation. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. I now have 2x plus y equals 8. We're done?
Wait, we are?
Is a and x on the same side?
No.
Is there any fractions?
No.
Any decimals?
No.
Is a positive?
Yeah.
We're done.
Yes.
That would be our answer. That's all we had to do. Now, if, I gotta show it so you guys can see both of them. If I wanted to use the other method, and we wanted to use y minus y1 equals m x minus x1, we could do that. And here's how. We can choose either coordinate, 2, 4, or 6, -4. I'm going to use 2, 4 because it's smaller numbers and they're positive. So I'm going to try and marry here. 2, 4. And we just rewrite our equation with it. Y minus y1 was 4. Equals, what was our slope that we already found? -2. X minus x1 is a 2. That right there is point slope form. We're done with point slope form. Now we have to finish this equation so we can get a standard form. I'm going to have to distribute. -2 is going to have to get distributed out. So I'd get -2x. -2 times -2 is +4. And now I need to get everything on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to add 4 to each side. Y equals -2x. Oops, I wrote the answer instead of 4. Plus 8. we have to add 2x, and we get 2x plus y equals 8. Same answer as before. It is really up to you which one you feel most comfortable with. Me, I personally feel like slope intercept's easier because I don't have to end up doing any distributing, and I won't make that mistake. I really wanted to get to this one. Find the missing coefficient. I'm going to skip this one just because of time. I want to make sure I get to this. I will do this one again. I promise. I'll make a video today, and I'll put it on there if you want to see it in case there's one like your homework. But I want to make sure we can see this one. So it says, your class is taking a trip to the public library. You can travel in a small and large van. I'm already thinking, gentlemen, hey, I'm having two different options, small and large. So I'm thinking those are going to be my variables. A small van holds 8 people and a large van holds 12 people. Your class can fit 15 small vans and 2 large vans. Write equation in standard form that models all the possible combinations of small vans and large vans that your class could fill. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to go ahead and say small vans is X and large vans are Y. This is how you solve story problems with this. You assign them variables. And to write my equation, if a small van holds 8 people, I'd have 8x. A large van holds 12. 12y equals, and I'd use my other variable c. The only thing we have to do right now is we have to know what c equals. And c is talking about how many students we get to take. So we can do this because they told us we're taking 15 small vans. So I would say 8 times 15 and 2 large vans. 12 times 2. And we have to find out what that answer is. 8 times 15 is
120.
Thank you. And 12 times 2.
24.
And 120 plus 24 is
144.
okay. What you just solved was how many students are in the class. So now I can do part A. A says write the equation in standard form. So I would say 8x plus 12y equals 144. That is our equation in standard form. Now, graph the equation from part A. So we have to graph this. Can we graph from standard form? No, we can't graph standard form. What do we have to do?
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
What happens if you turn 12 to x and 8 to y? Will it change it or no?
No. If you okay, your equation will be written different, but then if you change that, you're gonna have to realize when you get your answer that your coordinates are all switched. Like when we graph this, that when I get my answer that y is the small vans and x is the large vans. So yeah, it would be kind of messed up. So we put them in order how they are. So here's what we have to do. I have 8x plus 12y equals 144. How do we graph this? You're going to have to do this today, so you have to be able to know. How do I graph this? back in our notes, we have two ways to graph standard form.
Oh.
Brianna?
You do the slope intercept.
Good. We could rewrite it in slope intercept form, or we could do what? We could write point slope form, but if we do that, we have coordinates. What was the other part? Huh? Yeah, find the intercepts. Find the x or y intercepts. I don't care. We can do either one right now. Do you want to find the y and x intercepts, or do you want to do slope intercept form?
Slope intercept form.
Thank you. That's what I like. So to do that, I'm going to solve for y. So all I have to do is minus 8x. We'd have 12y equals negative 8x plus 144. We divide by 12. And we'd have y equals, over to the side, I'm going to go ahead and show negative 8 divided by 12. Because can that simplify?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to divide it by what?
2.
Something bigger than 2.
4.
Sure. We get negative 2/3. Oops. And then 144 divided by 12 is 12. Here's the important thing we have to identify now. Our slope was negative 2/3. Our y-intercept was 12. So we can now graph this. I go to this graph. Make sure I label my coordinates. This x-axis is small bands. Y is large bands. And now we can graph this. My y-intercept was 12. My slope is negative 2/3. So go down 2 and over 3. Go down 2 and over 3. Down 2 over 3. And I can make a straight line now. Use my mouse to fix this. Oh, did I mess up my last point? Ooh, I did. Notice how the straight line helped me notice that I made a mistake.
Oh, you
When I
went down to
counted,
over 2.
I went down to over 2, and it wasn't fitting on my line. So that shows me, like, right away I saw it, I was like, uh-oh. I started looking. I checked my slope again. I had to look at something else. I see that I counted wrong. Oh, man. We're just going to hit undo on that. So down 2 over 3 we'll put there. Alright, so that's part B. List several combinations. Okay, so they want to know several. Here's how you can do this. I could say small band, large band, gentlemen. Now, when I list this, it's really I'm listing coordinate points. I want to choose points that easily fall on the graph or on my line that I know, such as this right here. That coordinate point was 3, 10, which means I could take 3 small bands and 10 large bands. This coordinate point that I use my slope on, was 6, 8. So 6 small vans, 8 large vans. Let's do one more. I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to say, looking at my line, 18-0. I could take 18 small vans and no large vans. Using this, different combinations would help me make a better choice. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Your homework is 5.4 for tomorrow.